Hi guys. The purpose of my speech today is to persuade my peers that the death penalty should not be used. Have you ever heard of the death penalty before? Too many individuals in our nation are being sentenced to death over the kind of crimes that receive capital punishment, such as treason, aircraft hijacking, murder, and genocide. Regardless of the crimes committed, I believe that the death penalty is morally, socially, and politically wrong. Morally, killing is the worst kind of thing that you can do. No one can blame victims who want revenge, but there are laws existing to prevent the pursuit of vengeance for one's own sense of justice. My goal today is to share with you why I believe the death penalty should no longer be used. With better alternatives, more efficient ways of receiving closure, and innocent lives being taken, the death penalty should no longer be a punishment. And my credibility is my interest in the subject. There's a better alternative, life without freedom. First of all, it's very expensive for the state to kill somebody. If the cost of death were measured at the same time of an execution, then you would see the differences in the cost. But as every prosecutor, defense attorney, and judge knows, the cost of capital cases begin long before the sentence is carried out. Experienced prosecutors and defense attorneys must be assigned early on and begin a long period of investigation and pretrial hearings. My studies conclude that the death penalty system is far more expensive than the simple alternative of living life in prison. For example, in the state of California, inhabitants pay more than $117 million each year to maintain a death penalty system that is essentially equal to dying naturally in prison. Over a 20-year span, the state would have saved more than $2.3 billion if we sentenced everybody on death row to a life in prison. That's quoting Judy Kerr, who is one of my sources. And most importantly, the alternative of life in prison should be carried out with no possibility for parole. No minimums, no maximums, no time off for good behavior. It would give more families chances to have closure. My next point is there are better ways to help families of murder victims. Secondly, families of murder victims undergo a severe trauma and loss which should not be minimized. However, executions do not necessarily heal these people or help them end their pain. The extended process of a trial and the pre-trials and assigning a judge and getting a case can be really agonizing and even more traumatizing to the family. 9 times out of 10, the death penalty brings the opposite of relief, the opposite of healing, and the opposite of closure. I believe firmly that the death penalty keeps victims stuck in a stage of anger and grief. The death penalty requires all of us, victims, spectators, judges, to actively summon feelings of hatred for another individual in order to justify the murder of another person. Would you want to be the person whose vote ends another human's life? Because I don't want to be. I don't want my name to be on that. And my final point is that the death penalty puts innocence at risk. There have been numerous and countless scenarios where the wrong person gets put to death. To execute an innocent being's life is morally appalling, and that is a risk Americans are willing to take, unfortunately. And just, let alone in the past year, there have been over 100 people taken off death row due to a mistake of identity. What if that somebody who was innocent and put to death for a crime they didn't commit was a family member of yours? And if this many people have turned up innocent moments before a case closing, moments before execution, then there's no escaping the conclusion that too many people have been executed who are innocent. In conclusion, the death penalty costs more, delivers less, and puts innocent lives at risk. Without the parole of getting out of prison early, then it provides justice to survivors of murder victims and allows more resources to be invested into solving other murders or preventing violence or going towards education. That $2.34 billion could have gone to education. Sentencing people to die in prison is the sensible alternative for public safety and murder victims' families. It is something that shouldn't be used this day and age anymore, seeing that it is so inconsistent and unfair and just morally incorrect. I'm going to pull up a picture on my phone of all the states that allow the death penalty. I know it can be hard to see, but all of the red states allow the death penalty. Missouri is one of those states that allows the death penalty. The blue pictures, the blue states, they do not accept the death penalty at all. Like, that's not okay. You know, like, I don't know. And let me show you another picture of how many innocent people died on death row. Here we go, it's on my phone. Okay. So this one's just for Texas because Texas allows the death row too. How many people are wrongly convicted under the death penalty in Texas? 2% is never. 27% is almost never. 49% is occasionally. 50% of people, like here, die, innocent people, which is really sad because if they were in prison living the, maximum capacity, just living their lives in prison, then they would have gotten another chance to live their life if they weren't executed. They would have gotten another chance for somebody to say, hey, this isn't right, that person's innocent. So thank you all for listening to my speech. Have a good rest of your week.